So nice to meet you, Lisa. I will introduce myself. My name's Guy Moffat. I'm the president for the Portage and District Chamber of Commerce. And you are one of my candidates in cars, which is really exciting. Something
Happy
a little bit different.
Here. Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Lisa?
Oops, sorry, that's my phone.
That's all right.
Well, I've lived and worked in the Portage-Prairie region since 2008. It's an area of Manitoba that has always been really important to myself and my family. My mother's good friends have lived here. Lots of people that we knew growing up I knew growing up in the north have come and settled here. It's a vibrant community. I'm a teacher at Portage Collegiate in the area, and so I've taught in the division since 2008. And my husband is from the area. He grew up in Bagot and McGregor. We're raising our kids here. They go to school in Portage, so it's a community and a riding that's very near and dear to our hearts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where did you grow up?
I grew up in northern Manitoba, in Thompson.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I don't need to welcome you to Portage because it's home.
It is
which
home.
is wonderful.
It's very much home.
So tell me, what is one of your favorite things about Portage-la-Prairie other than the awesome people that live here?
Well, of course, the awesome people that live here. I love the vibrancy of this community. There is so much there are so many wonderful things about this. Like it's such a great place to raise your family. It's a rich community for education. I've worked tirelessly in education over my career here, and it is just a wonderful place for everybody to live and work. It's really nice. One of the things I love, it's really nice being on the prairies. I have family in BC and Alberta and Saskatchewan and Ontario, and Nova Scotia. I always say there is nothing like a prairie sunset. It is just a beautiful region. I love how welcoming everybody is. When I settled here in 2008, one thing that struck me was that everyone just welcomed me into the community as an important part. And you're a teacher. Oh, welcome. Like, start a family here, and it became home. There's so many different organizations that you can get involved with. I am a member of Prairie Players and have been for over a decade. I've done volunteer work with United Way. I've gotten involved in my church community. There's just so much for a family here and people to thrive.
So tell me, where's your interest in politics? It seems like a bit of a jump to go from education. Well, not to say that our politicians don't need some educating, but what's your interest? What made you take this leap?
In one way or another, I believe I've always been an advocate, whether it's for French language education or social justice or human rights. My entire life I've been involved in terms of advocating for causes. So, and if you ask former students of mine or even current students of mine, they'll tell you Madame Tessier is, she's the one you want to add power to your cause, get her involved, which I take pride in and thank the students for. But really it was my good friend Nikki Ashton, who is the MP for the Churchill riding up north in Manitoba, who I've known since childhood. We both grew up in Thompson, graduated at the same time, attended university at the same time, and we bonded over our shared interest in speaking out, using our voice for good, for change. And over the years, we've connected on issues surrounding the Portage-Lisgar riding and commiserated in some ways how things need to change, or I wish they could change. I wish someone would step up and run for the NDP and in our riding. And she just said, well, Lisa, why don't you do it? And so I decided, well, I guess that's how it's going to happen.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what are some of the big platform pieces that you're working on?
First and foremost is cost of living and affordability for the people in our riding. I think that across Canada, across Manitoba, across our riding, and reaching out and talking to people on this campaign trail, one of the biggest concerns is definitely affording to live. And there is absolutely no reason why the people of Portage Lisgar should have to choose between groceries and paying their rent or paying a bill. This affordability is definitely at the forefront of my platform, and if elected, I'll use my voice in Ottawa to advocate for families and working people in our riding, that they should not have to sacrifice quality of life just to make ends meet and live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay. Seeing that you went down this path, I was going to ask you about poverty. One of the things that some of the groups in Portage the Prairie are very aware of is that we have poverty, and that's something that we feel really needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think can be done at the federal government level in order to help Manitobans and to ease poverty?
I believe that poverty is something that needs to be tackled by the federal government, in that there needs to be investments into rural communities, not just in the big cities, in rural communities like Portage. As an educator, I have seen poverty in my classrooms. I've seen kids come to school with empty stomachs, unwashed clothes, just horrific, heartbreaking conditions at home. And sometimes school is the only place where they get a hot meal. And that draws them to school, which is a good thing. And I'm happy that our school division has worked tirelessly to do that and continues to do that K to 12. But in terms of programs with outside of the school age level, we need to see infrastructure put in place with help for funding from federal government, like a continued support for community soup kitchens, places where people who don't have a roof over their heads can come and seek refuge and get the help that they need, and give them the tools that they need in order to become contributing members to society. No one wants to be poor. No one wants to live in poverty. And the measure of a great society is how we take care of those who are unable to care for themselves. And if we advocate, as your MP, I would advocate tirelessly for programs to be put in place by the federal government so that they could, or communities like Portage in our riding could come up with these initiatives at a community level in a way that works for the community.
I like hearing that.
Good.
Actually, yesterday I was speaking to our mayor, and Mayor Knox was telling me about a program that's running in Portage the Prairie that has helped out, I believe it was about 80 individuals who were homeless or houseless, and this program has helped get them to a point where they have a place, they have a home, they're working, and we've helped, our community has helped to turn around at least that many people, which is awesome.
That's amazing, yeah.
So I'm sure Portage being your home, you recognize the formal Campbell Soup plant, and at one point in time was a cornerstone of industry in Portage. It was huge, had tons of employers. It was also very crippling and devastating when they decided to pack up and cease operations here. So my question is, what are your thoughts around rural economic development, and how can the federal government assist that?
Well, the federal government, I think, really needs to take a look at the bigger picture in terms of Canadians. It's working families and working men and women and people that contribute to economic development in individual communities. So by investing in those communities, they're bringing that workforce back into the communities, and that's what causes or allows a community to thrive. Growing up in a mining community, I know exactly how devastating it can be when a mine shuts down, or when business shuts down. I mean, my dad was laid off because the mine had to cut costs in order to keep operations moving along. Many friends of mine, their parents were left without work. It's devastating, and that should never be the case. I really believe that the federal government needs to, like I said, look at the bigger picture, look at rural communities as being vital for not just the survival, but for the economic development of Canada.
Okay, and then on the same kind of vein,
right,
with economic development, I need to ask about agriculture. Like,
certainly,
Portage, that's a cornerstone to our economy.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I like to tell people who aren't from here is that, in my mind, in my opinion, Portage is one of the most diverse growing ecologies in Manitoba. We have fruit, we have vegetables, we have grain, we have oilseed, we have livestock production. Where does the federal government fit into agriculture, and what can they do to help Manitoba farmers succeed?
Well, unfortunately, through conservative and liberal governments, we've seen farmers pay the price for costs in agriculture associated with running farms, associated with employing people on farms. So it really, I believe, it should not be the producers of our food that suffer when it comes to decisions that the federal government is making that are to do with agriculture. And so far, unfortunately, through this liberal government that we've seen under Trudeau, farmers have paid the price. I would work as an advocate for farmers. My husband's family is a farming family. They had to sell their family farm. That is not something that I want to see happen to the farms that run in our community. I mean, we all benefit from the producers of our food. They are the ones that know best what is going to work and what is not going to work. They need to be part of the decision-making process, not people in Ottawa who have no ties to the farming community, no know-how of how farming actually works day to day, season to season.
Okay.
And sorry to interrupt, but on that vein, what I would like to see for the people of our riding and our community is to have farmers, producers of our food, people involved in the agri-sciences and agribusiness of our region be part of the conversation. Instead of just pointing out there's a problem, have people working in the agricultural sector in our area of Canada, of Manitoba, taking part in the conversation, saying, look, this is what's going to work, this is what's not going to work for us, and trying to come up with a solution that benefits not just the farmers, but the people of our riding and of Canada.
Okay. And we're just passing by MDC. Now,
Yes.
This is a provincial facility for physically and cognitively impaired individuals.
Yes.
Tell me about mental health. Tell me about Canada and the federal government and mental health.
Well, first of all, my husband works at the Manitoba Developmental Center, so shout out to my husband, Lindsay. I find that the work that is done here is so vital. Like I said before, the measure of a great society is caring for those, how we take care of those who can't take care of themselves or provide them care. And the work that the people do at the MDC, is so important. And I've seen it firsthand how just having someone come in on a regular basis and provide care, provide entertainment and recreation and conversation and activities for people who have intellectual or physical disabilities is really important, is so meaningful. And we've also seen the impacts of government decisions to close down facilities like the MDC. I know that there's a bit of a ticking clock on this facility right now, and people are concerned about the future of not just their jobs, but the residents in the area who live still on site at Manitoba Developmental Center. And it's really important that we continue to honor those commitments of providing care for those that need it, the support of vulnerable people. And as an educator and as a mother, I've also seen through my work in the school and in schools, that there are positives all around when we invest in mental health care for everybody. If students, if people, if communities are able to access adequate mental health care and services, those communities and those individuals become more resilient and thrive. So through having the federal government and having an MP that will advocate to increase funding for initiatives that reach youth, that reach all members of our community for mental health is vital.
Okay, excellent. And we're just passing by some brand new housing.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, put up by MMF.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
Gorgeous.
my question is housing and the federal government.
I think that ties very closely into cost of living. As I said before, people should not have to choose between a mortgage payment or a rent payment and paying a bill or providing food for their family and living paycheck to paycheck. That is just it's not sustainable whatsoever. Allowing families to be able to take out a mortgage or loans in order to find housing that fits their needs and their budget is so important for our community. Liz, you said we have high rates of poverty in our community, and one of the things that I believe will alleviate that and I want to advocate for is cost of living. If it is too expensive to live, then everybody suffers, and it's just not fair.
Okay. And we're coming through a bit of an industrial area of Portage right now. We've already talked about rural economic development, and pretty soon we're going to be passing through a neighborhood of Portage where there is a lot of poverty, and you've talked a lot about that, and it's a sign of how we care for our folks that are marginalized. So mental health and health,
right,
as well as training and education, those are all under the provincial government's purview.
True.
For the feet on the ground, basically, right? So, I guess my question is there a spot? Is there a place for the federal government to be part of all that? And how important is it?
I think there is, definitely. I know there is a place for the federal government, and I think it's the responsibility of the federal government to take leadership to help fund programs that will foster mental health care across Canada. We've seen the NDP work with the Liberal Party to improve quality of life for Canadians by now providing us with dental care and pharmacare. There is no reason why that can't also include mental health care or mental health services. It's all health, and we all will do better when all aspects of health are recognized. There is still a stigma associated with mental health services, and needing to ask for help is incredibly hard. But if we can improve on the programs that we have and broaden the focus of them, like it's all health related, then, like I said before, there's possibility for change.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to move on a little bit. Very soon we're going to be coming up, driving past Red River College Polytech, which we're really proud to have in Portage La Prairie.
Yes.
And I'm particularly proud of it because they're my main employer.
Absolutely.
Employment and training is, again, provincial purview. But help me understand, again, where does the federal government fit in? And I'm thinking that skilled, trained, educated workforce and population is important to the overall health of not just Portage La Prairie or Manitoba, but our entire country.
Well, first of all, I want to say that it goes without saying that when we can train or educate our workforce at home, our community thrives. And I think that's the grassroots level. We need to look at that. And yes, the provincial governments are, education and training falls under their umbrella, but the federal government also plays an important part in that, in terms of having an advocate for each riding, to make sure that funds allotted to each province reflect the need that each province is needing or requires. Even in just talking to people in the community, pharmacists in particular, in medical field training, initiatives that they would like to see in our region are, we need people to help in the pharmacy sector. We need training available locally. We have Red River here, which is great. My husband is pursuing some of his post-secondary there right now, which is wonderful. But having a wider variety of programming available to them would be great. And I'm not picking on you, Guy. I'm really not.
That's okay.
But having federal government be aware of what's going on in our riding is only going to increase our voice, and as such, I believe the amount of investment we can bring into our community to provide training and to provide and then job security for the people who continue to choose to live in Portage.
Okay, awesome. Very soon we're going to be passing by the former Agassiz Correctional Site.
Yes.
It seems that some crime statistics are headed the right way and heading down. What are your thoughts on addressing crime and the criminal code of Canada?
That's a great question. I believe that investing in programs that are going to help alleviate people from turning to crime, I think are in social causes and in social programming is vital. Having communities apply for government grants, federal and provincial grants, to work at a local level in a way that is meaningful to their communities, addressing specific problems related to crime, whether it's poverty, whether it's addiction, mental health, unemployment. Those are things that your MP or the representative for Portage Lisgar really needs to keep in mind when they are advocating for the people of this area. I believe that one of the only ways that is really going to impact on a meaningful level the crime that we see in our region, because it is a concern that many people have brought up to me. What do you feel about the crime? What are we going to do about what as an MP could you do about the crime level in Portage the Prairie? And it's making investments into our community that are going to change that, and at a meaningful and real level. That's where we'll see the results. If we can have programs in place for people who suffer from addiction, and that they can get the help that they need, or people that are unemployed, so they can find job security and avoid poverty. That is what we need.
Okay. And I'm sure you will recognize your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I do a little bit of shameless promotion because people on YouTube hopefully are tuning into this. And this is the crown jewel of our city.
Yes, it is.
Island Park, so there's a lake in the middle of our city. This is really a recreation hub. We've got disc golf for free. We have the multiplex.
Yes.
2 ice surfaces, indoor aquatic center. We've got Splash Island Outdoor Aquatic Center, and the public pickleball and tennis courts and walking tracks.
Yeah.
And this is awesome. So
we are here. My family is here all the time.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
Yes.
So the question is, tell me about, again, how the federal government fits into sports and recreation, and the importance, as well as having accessible parks, because having this great space does come at a cost.
It sure does. As I said before, federal government needs to take a more active role in looking at communities across Canada and seeing where benefits where their funding can do the most. And one of those areas is certainly protecting green spaces like this and keeping up, maintaining these green spaces and investing in them. Everybody that knows that there is science to back up when you are active, when you are outside, when you are engaged, your overall health is better. And this park, I'd like also to mention, not only benefits the people of Portage, Prairie, but is a bit of a gemstone for us because people come from all across southern Manitoba to use this facility. So it's of vital importance that your advocate in Ottawa take an active role to continue to use their voice to make sure that spaces like this get maintained and protected and further developed like the Rotary Club did with our duck pond here, which is fantastic. I heard this morning on the radio that there's wedding photography bookings there. Like, that's wonderful to see. That's just going to add to the vibrancy of our community. I know that children play here. My kids love this park. This is one of our stops when we come into town and do our grocery shop. This is where they want to stop. Like, so investing in that so that our children are active and engaged and being given that chance to engage with other children of their age is so important. And that's my 2 cents as a mother. But as a potential leader for this, or a voice for this region, having the federal government be aware of the vibrancy of rural communities and not just big cities, but these green spaces are like I said, of vital importance to our communities because they bring people to our community.
Awesome. And on that note, bringing people to our community, let's talk about immigration and the federal government and how the federal government fits into that. There's a labor shortage across Canada.
Yes.
Definitely in Portage, Prairie.
Yes.
And I know that not all of our answer, but some of it is opening our borders a little bit. So let's talk about the federal government and immigration and what that might look like, or what your thoughts are on that.
Canada is, a nation of many different races, religions, creeds, colors, individuals, and I think that's what makes Canada amazing. I grew up in a time when embracing culture was at the forefront of education. We talked so much about multiculturalism in my upbringing. I myself have a very diverse group of very close friends that I grew up with that I still stay in contact with. I went through the French immersion program. I speak French. I identify as Francophone. So I teach students from a multitude of different countries, and seeing these different experiences and different voices and narratives being present in our classrooms and now in our communities is a blessing. It's wonderful to see. And it's wonderful to see these families coming to our community and the communities in our riding and starting businesses and contributing and being active and taking on a role and that's meaningful to them and allows them to thrive and provide for their family. And I feel like the federal government needs to recognize that what makes Canada great is our diversity, and continuing to uphold a standard of inclusion that allows for all people, all walks of life, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, to just be part of the Canadian fabric is so meaningful, and it only adds to the vibrancy of our community. I mean, if you look along Saskatchewan Avenue in Portage, Prairie, you can get Bannock tacos and Bannock dogs. There's Greek food. There's Indian food. Like, we have Chinese food. It's not just pizza places. We have a variety of different cultures just represented even in our local businesses, which is amazing to see.
So also on that topic, a close friend of mine, this is a few years ago, but he would say to me, Guy, if you are ever going to have a heart attack in Portage la Prairie, the best place to do it is at Dairy Queen because of all the doctors and nurses that work there, and it was a lot of new to Canada, and that's kind of the issue as well, right? So, what are your thoughts, or can we do better on allowing people who have earned credentials in other countries to translate that over to something meaningful in Canada?
Absolutely. I think, speaking from personal experience, one of my close friends growing up, her family was from Pakistan, and her parents, university educated, doctorates, master's degree in sciences and engineering, and they worked at KFC. So definitely a misuse of their skill set and a missed opportunity for that knowledge to be imparted to and to be of use in the community. And we are seeing that here. And so having a government that will recognize credentials from other countries is important. Education is education. And I believe that quality of education is okay, take that part out. Quality of education is important, but the federal government should be working to honor the credentials and the expertise that is coming into our community. It's a missed opportunity otherwise. There was something I was going to say, I lost it.
It's okay. We're talking about new to Canada people being able to transfer credentials much easier.
Yes.
A lot of times, I know from my work with Red River College Polytech, there are nurses who feel it's much faster just to start right from scratch again.
Yeah. And even if you look at the situation of healthcare in Manitoba, they're looking at and recruiting nurses from Indonesia and from other countries. And when we have people who could do the jobs here, could do the work, provided they have the training or provided they have the opportunity. So it's really important that we take a look not elsewhere but within to fill those positions in order to improve the quality of life for everybody in our riding.
Awesome. So I'm sure you noticed, and this is something that I'm really proud of as well. We're in Kishkimakwa,
yes,
which is a community that was created and is owned by Arrowhead Corporation, which is Long Plain First Nation.
Right.
And we just drove through their residential area. They have office buildings, they have commerce, they have stores, they have a gas bar, and I think the only national residential school museum.
Yes.
So talk to me about Truth and Reconciliation. Where are we? How are we doing? What can we do better?
Thank you for asking that question, Guy. I know we have a long way to go. We are now, I think what's really important to note in this conversation is that we are now talking about it, and it is a conversation that is being had out in the open and needs to continue to be had out in the open. As an educator, I can speak to what I see personally in schools and the conversations that are happening. There are lots of positives to be seen. We are now seeing stronger and more resilient Indigenous youth. That's not to say that their work doesn't need to be done, because very much so does. But we are now, I'm proud to see Indigenous students graduating and moving on into the workforce or into post-secondary and becoming leaders in their communities, fiercely proud of their indigeneity and their heritage and their willingness to share with the community. We have citizens like Jacinda Houle, who ran a powwow dance club for youth in the school division. That's how reconciliation happens. That's Truth and Reconciliation in action, is taking part in that and realizing that we all live on this land and we all can celebrate the beauty of Indigenous cultures in our region and in Canada. There does still need to be massive investments made into Indigenous communities within our riding and across Canada, in terms of providing them those supports that they need to deal with issues that are unfortunately systemic, such as poverty, such as education, addictions, mental health. These are all things that need to be addressed, and it's no longer the case where people can say it needs to be, oh, the band office will take care of that, or their own organization will take care of that. It's everybody now. If we're going to walk the walk of reconciliation and truth, we do it together.
Okay. I did have another question. Oh, do you, and this is a bit of a loaded one.
Okay.
But do you feel that the original intention of the treaties that were signed has been honored by the Canadian government?
Ooh. No.
Okay.
I mean, point blank, no. And I think I know for a fact in being re-educated myself in treaty history and the signing of treaties in this region, that many of the communities and the people that were forced to sign these treaties did not know what they were signing, did not understand what it meant to enter into agreement with the Canadian government at that time. So, in my opinion, no, and reparations still need to be made on that front. And as I said, before, that isn't just a decision that should be made by the government in Ottawa. That needs to happen with people in those communities at the table, talking, sharing their stories, sharing their history, sharing their trauma, so that we understand as a community moving forward in truth and reconciliation what honoring a treaty should look like, and honoring and respecting the diversity and the vibrancy of Indigenous cultures in Canada, and how they can contribute, and how they will continue to contribute to what it means to be Canadian.
Okay, awesome. And we're coming close to the end of our tour. Is there anything else that you would like to add or comment on?
I just really want to take the time to thank everyone that supported my nomination for this by-election. Win, lose, or draw, I am so honored to be the chosen candidate to represent the New Democratic Party, and to be a voice for change in our riding. I think for a very long time the Conservatives have believed that it's a no-brainer that they're going to win this riding altogether, and I think that's left I know that's left the people of Portage Lisgar feeling like they don't have adequate representation or a voice that is meaningful, that knows anything about what is going on in their communities and in their riding. So I really just want to thank everyone for their belief in me and their trust in me to be their voice for action, because that's what I want to do. I'm here to win, and in 2 years, hopefully, whatever the outcome of this election, come what may, in 2 years, I really hope to be on the ballot again as a committed voice for change for our riding.
Awesome. Well, and regardless of what happens in the by-election, people are going to be heading to the polls on
Yes.
Monday the 19th.
Yes.
Please exercise your right to vote.
Please.
It's very important.
Yes.
I hope to see your name again at the next federal election as a candidate.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Portage and District Chamber of Commerce, as well as the voters and constituents in Portage Lisgar, thank you very much for stepping up to the plate. It's a huge commitment. I can only imagine. I have an idea of what it's like from a provincial government standpoint, but when you're having to go back and forth to Ottawa, it's I think it's going to be a fair bit of work, and I appreciate you making that sacrifice for the best of our community.
Can I speak to that a bit?
Yeah,
Gary?
sure. Yeah.
believe that it would be my privilege to do that. I'm raising 2 girls, and I believe that, we always said right from their births, we're raising future CEOs, we're raising future prime ministers, we're raising future activists. So it's really important as a woman and a mother to have representation by females, by women, strong women, or people who identify as female, in positions where they can advocate for change and advocate for everybody. So I want to say that if I am elected, I'm honored and I would be privileged to represent this riding.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.